Welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I am your host, Kyptan, and with me today are Stormrunner,
Hey, how's it going?
Lord Ash,
Hello, everybody.
and Swolafan, also known as Hurinfan.
Hi.
Today we'll be discussing The Will to Battle by Dr. Ada Palmer, published in 2017, through Chapter 11. This is the third book of the Terra Ignota universe, and the one where we finally start to understand the series title. So let's start with some general impressions from our newbies. How'd you like this?
The dreaded, how did you like this question?
I don't think Ash liked this.
No,
No, it's the question. It's almost as good as how are you?
I feel like it's a very loaded question, you know?
Yeah,
I-
because I presume that you liked it. Other answers are unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Yeah, I mostly liked it. Yeah, I think so. The tension is ratcheting up, I think, pretty effectively. The focus of the series seems to have changed a fair amount, as I think is appropriate. Yeah, obviously, like, we're at a point where it doesn't seem like new characters are really getting introduced. Seems like we're pretty set in our current cast. Maybe some random stuff will happen.
How can you say that when we got servicers?
The servicers finally get names. That's the big change, it seems.
And Cookie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we have some new heroes joining the cast. That's fair. That's a good point. I'd forgotten. Yeah, it seems to be more politically driven, this book, so far. And some of my least favorite characters are not making much appearance so far, which I am quite happy about. And yeah, there's some cool political machinations. There's some Senate debates, which was my favorite part of the prequel series of Star Wars. So why wouldn't I like it here? Yeah, pretty positive on it, I think.
It only could have been improved by being about trade routes, which I guess probably parts of it were. I'd have to double check.
Is it not?
It's not about those, right? There's the general strike.
I think when you say it like that, our readers are gonna assume that you're being sarcastic.
I actually have never hated the political parts of the prequel series of Star Wars. I don't actually understand really what the problem is very much. It's very minimal.
People get upset at the idea of a Senate chamber sometimes,
I guess, yeah.
and procedural motions.
Well, yeah.
I think a lot of interesting stuff happens in Senates. No,
Me too.
it's probably very surprising for listeners.
I just think we spent a lot of time with naming procedural motions in this book.
I would like it if this book was just following the Senate. I think it's like one long scene there.
To be fair, that is where like most of the actual plot progression happens.
That's not true.
Kind of. Okay, so then the plot progression is happening to characters that are talking about the Senate hearing, or what's going to happen in the Senate.
Okay, but the question is, how did you like this book?
I liked it mostly, I think. It kind of feels like the series slowed down a bit. I still think Two Like Lightning is my favorite so far. We're obviously only halfway into this one, but still a lot of interesting ideas. Yeah, I mean, I generally liked it. I think it slowed down. I think things seem to be stretching out a bit and taking longer to, a lot of the book was people talking about possibly doing things, is what it seemed like. Whereas it felt like things were actually happening a little more in Two Like Lightning and Seven Surrenders.
Okay.
Mycroft seemed a little more annoying in this one for some reason, as the narrator.
I think I actually agree with that. There are more interjection, like he's imagining more characters to interject in the narrative.
Yeah.
Which I did start finding obnoxious.
It's Mycroft less edited.
That's true, actually, yeah. It's just Mycroft and then 9A, it seems.
So Chesky actually has a question that we can talk about in a spoiler-free context. What story structure would this book/series fall under? Example, 3-act structure, the hero's journey, the 5-act structure, the story circle, the 7-point structure. For first-time readers based on the first 3 books, how different will the 4th book be? And how does style change between the books? If you had to change the titles and give the books a catchy phrase, what would it be?
You shotgun those questions, didn't you?
So I think we can immediately start addressing how the story structure has changed. And the thing that I will say is that this book actually has a build-up and then events that start to happen in the middle of it in like a potentially a climax and a more standard story structure than the first two, which were split in half.
Yeah, I mean, we ended on not a cliffhanger because it's the middle of the book, but we ended on like a pretty climactic event happening and a dramatic costume change, which I was a fan of. Like, what story structure this fits into, I'm afraid I can't say. I've only read half of it.
Yeah, similar. I don't know quite where it would fit. Certainly not traditional.
Not Hero's Journey.
No.
No.
One thing I like about the series so far generally is that the structure has been not traditional overall.
I'd be tempted to call it epic procedural.
I don't like
Oh.
that.
Epic procedural. Can you justify the claim?
So we're getting a lot of real-time narration flashbacks and things that are staples of the procedural drama.
Right. Okay. So we could see like every new scene. You could imagine someone like Romanova at 6:00 a.m. The Senate hearing.
3
Sorry,
weeks
go on.
previously.
Yeah.
And then epic in the fact that there's clearly inspiration from the classical epics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You know, Les Mis.
Never heard of it.
Nothing further back than that.
Absolutely not. No. The Count of Monte Cristo. But I'm more interested in our newbies' opinions on
On story structure,
yeah.
or what we would rename the books. I don't know. I'm really bad at naming things, so I can't answer that.
Renaming would be great.
Renaming. Oh man.
I don't really like this title, I will say. Like The Will to Battle, I don't really like.
You don't like that tract of time in which the will to battle is manifest.
It's like a perfect title so far.
I think the quote's good. I just don't think it works as well as the title, whereas the other two I think are generally pretty good.
I think I definitely liked To Like the Lightning the most as the title, and I have been
Absolutely.
mixed
Yeah.
to maybe negative on the other two so far.
I think The Will to Battle is a perfect title. Seven Surrenders is fine. To Like Lightning's pretty good. Pretty good. What's wrong with The Will to Battle?
I like the will to battle.
Like it's perfectly thematically relevant, and the featuring of Hobbes constantly in the book so far, and
This is
the
about
thing being about the state of nature and the nature of war.
It's justified and it fits. I just don't like it.
Yeah, it's kind of
Okay,
All three books could be titled Approaching Disaster.
well, they're boring.
approaching being the operative word there.
There is no limit.
I'm going for accuracy, not literary merit.
Let's see, the first one, Too Light Lightning, could be renamed. The narrator sucks. Seven Surrenders could be called. Gee, aren't these future people weird? And this one be called The Will to Battle.
I think that the second could probably be renamed to Bridgerton with Cars.
Ooh.
I don't know anything about Bridgerton to argue about that though. So.
It's about like high society people in the 18th century, so 19th century.
But with Taylor Swift songs.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
There's a lot of like over the top intrigue. It's very popular. It's extremely popular. It's definitely more popular than this series will ever be.
You mean that even if they were to adapt this, it wouldn't set box office records?
I think it probably wouldn't.
Depends how they handle chapter 5, obviously.
The only thing about Bridgerton I heard from was the podcast.
Yeah.
And then AP had a guy on his channel complain about it once. That's all I know.
Let's get into spoiler territory, I think. I'm going to start us off with a recap. The first half of the book sees a reframing of humanity as the alphabet by which two gods converse, the election of Anselé as humanist president and handover of OS, Achilles visiting world leaders and deciding which side to support in an upcoming war, the reemergence of Set riots, a hive-wide strike, the establishment of a global underground, dramatic Senate session with motions to confirm the censor, dissolve the humanists, talk about resurrection, reform multiple hives, kill sniper, and legislate the rearing of children, the return of Julia to the Conclave in a second assassination attempt, the prisoner transfer of Ganymede and near assassination of Mycroft, complete with fever dream hallucinations, the breaking of Spain's agreement not to make Jehovah his heir, attempts to reestablish borders in the names of peace, a visit to Hobbstown to defend Jed's ability to act as tribune, and the breaching of the Sanctum Sanctorum and reveal of Donatian as Imperator Destinatus,
And a stealing of the oath.
and the stealing of the Masonic Oath of Office.
Remind me why that was, like, I know that it is significant to Cornell, but or the Masons, but why is it significant again?
Because only the current emperor is supposed to know the Oath of Office.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you steal it, it's like basically an act of war.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they're pissed. They're like really pissed.
And we see Mason in full fury and rage, possibly for the first time in the entire series, despite him previously looking full of fury and rage.
I like Cornell Mason. I think Cornell Mason has become my favorite character in this book.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Surprised, Ash likes the dictator.
It's like it feels like he's the only world leader that like has his priorities straight and is willing to make actual concessions.
He's the most dedicated cosplayer, I think.
Yeah, that's fair. He's the most dedicated.
I do think, to be fair, I do want to give Dominic some credit though for like his whole negotiation stuff with the Mitsubishi. I think that was actually pretty decent as far as getting that was more getting concessions from people, but also
Yeah, this is not making concessions.
but there was some concessions made. But
He's more politically savvy than I expected. Still just a terrible choice.
Yeah, did we expect Dominic Seneschal to make so many effects on the world leading the hive of the
No.
Mitsubishi?
Yes.
Kinda. Yeah.
Do we like Dominic having control of one of the most important hives?
No.
Yeah,
No.
Dominic isn't annoying me right now. The person that's annoying me is the Madame, who is terrible.
She's
terrible.
like,
Nothing's changed there though.
right, but now she's literally like an evil empress, or about to be an evil empress.
That's
She's-
true.
Or she was a lady trying to be an evil empress, and she's just
Yes.
conceited now.
Yeah, it's her
Yeah.
whole deal.
It's interesting. I wonder if there's like a deliberate parallel being drawn to Josephine, Napoleon's first wife, who was also terrible.
I think she aims to upstage every prior queen in existence and every previous mistress in existence.
I really dislike her saying that she's all about protecting Jed, but she's the main reason Jed is in danger in the first place here. I find it so obnoxious that like section where she's very reckless with Mycroft's life, right? It's just, I'm gonna bait sniper to save Mycroft, and then
She's only protective of Jed because Jed is like her
prince.
a big source of her power. Of course, she's gonna be protective of him.
yeah, but she's the one who put him in danger in the first place.
Yeah,
Right.
because like that's how she gets her power.
Without him, she wouldn't be a legitimated queen.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But like it's just obnoxious to me how she's not accepting responsibility. She's like, oh, it's Marion Cray who did everything. It's his fault. I just set him up. I didn't make him do anything.
As Mason says, she wants to be a whore.
Yeah, that's true.
She's doing a very good job.
Yeah.
Although she can't not can't, but like
You want to tell Madame she can't do something?
yeah, it's now even about to be even less socially acceptable for her to do that.
I really don't understand what Spain and Cornell Mason see in her.
I don't understand why anyone likes her or why anyone ever goes to her brothel or how she has friends at all.
She doesn't have friends.
And
Yeah.
like, I used to really respect the King of Spain. She has people that willingly spend time with her. Those are called friends.
Yeah.
Mm,
And then the King of Spain, I used to have respect for the dude, and he's so stupid.
And everyone knows like that she's awful. She basically tells people that. Like she's not trying to hide that fact.
Yeah, like she's obviously disrupting all their plans. I don't know why she hasn't been like assassinated yet. I don't know why there hasn't been effort put into that.
And she probably has people from Utopias protecting her.
she has utopians and she has the Spanish Royal Guard.
Ugh.
I still don't understand how she got anyone to spend more than 5 minutes with her.
I'm with you.
Like,
on
there
this
are
one.
other women you could sleep with in the world.
But not dressed the way she does.
Not.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
understand why there wasn't another person, like one other person managing a brothel where it was gender. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. But
Like nobody's ever had this kink before.
Gender philosophy brothels, man. They're a rare resource.
So we all know people just won't discuss things when they're alone together with their lovers, and naturally. And
You got to have sensei or training, brillism. You gotta have all these tools at your disposal. The philosophical training. These things do not come readily to man in this era who only works 20 hours a week.
it's funny to me because these world leaders in previous books have been like conscious of what's happening. It's like, oh, we're all compromised. We surrender to this power. But why did they just accept that?
Love.
Love. Why would you love this person?
Yeah, there's a lot of this structure. Why would anyone like Madame?
Especially like Spain and Cornel Mason. I guess I don't know. Like it's a weird fetish thing for Spain and Madame are virtue and vice. I don't have any insight as to why Cornel Mason has any.
Yeah, Mason, because he's the one that's like kind of played the most straight in his role, so to speak. Serious is not quite the word, but I don't, like you said, I don't like get it. Like it almost feels like he's thrown in there because there needs to be another side to the love shape. Not a love, because it's not a triangle. It's there's like 10 sides or something. But I don't understand why he wants to be involved in this.
We can't ever forget that Joyce and Felix Faust have had sex canonically.
Oh yeah.
You could call it a love rat king.
This is a reference to something I don't know.
I think
A rat
You know what a
king
rat
is
king
when
is?
there's a number of rats are entangled by their tails together.
Oh,
Yeah, like
Oh,
okay. Yeah, that seems appropriate.
I think that fits.
I object to calling Cornel Mason a rat, but
And they get like stuck in a singular location.
Oh, okay.
Not always, but that's part of it. They become less nimble, but more ferocious.
I think Cornel Mason is constantly the most annoying person on page when he's on page.
really,
He's just so self-important. He thinks he's the smartest dude in the room, unless Mycroft's there, of course.
or Jed.
And like he's not willing to like. He just feels like he's trying way too hard. If that makes sense.
I mean, he is generally the most important person in the room.
I agree that he's trying way too hard. I think his pride and self-importance.
If he actually thought that, he wouldn't have to act the way that he does.
What do you mean, like an emperor?
I imagine Cornel Mason as like a 10-foot dude who's just lording over everybody and enjoying every second of it.
I don't think he's having a good
I don't think
time.
he enjoys it. Yeah.
I think the opposite. I think he thinks he's much smaller than he actually is and is just trying to play the big man.
Wow.
I typically like it when he's on screen because like it's gonna be an interesting dialogue if he's on screen, and like the imagery is usually pretty cool. Like when he comes down in the like car after the second assassination attempt, a lot of that's pretty cool imagery.
It seems to me that he's the only world leader that's actually wanting to solve problems. I feel like the rest are just like, well, we're in this now. He's the one that's actually taking action. Well, I guess Briar Crisol is taking action, but it doesn't feel like Spain is doing anything. It feels like Dominic is sort of doing things, right? But like forcing concessions.
Yeah, that's a good point, but they all suck.
I think Mason thinks he was a third choice emperor.
He was a third choice emperor.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That's a totally fair thing to think.
Should have been a Canner or a Mardi or maybe even a Mojave, but not him.
He clearly has a strong sense of duty, which the other people in the world don't have. And I don't know, it seems appropriate for him to be treating this seriously and treating himself seriously. That's like the leader of the dictator over how many billions of people. I would want them to be pretty serious.
Do you think it's appropriate for him to treat Masonic law seriously?
Yes, absolutely. Of course. Well, that's his job.
I think it's a piece of paper.
I think that one of the tensions of the series is that maybe he's too effective and the other world leaders aren't. And this is why everyone's defecting to become Masons. And it's bad for the system if everyone is a Mason. So, like, he should be treating it seriously. Maybe not everyone else should be treating it seriously. But maybe there aren't enough effective counterweights to Masonic power in this series at the moment. And there needs to be.
Would you consider a European emperor a counterweight?
There aren't as many Europeans.
If the European emperor is a military genius who has a united population behind him, yes, I would consider that to be an appropriate counterweight.
Because it doesn't seem like the Europeans as a hive actually are actually that powerful on a like relatively.
Yeah.
They're neither powerful nor competent.
Yeah.
Let's also remember who our narrator is here.
Always important to keep in mind.
European.
No, a Greek who's like, I don't want Spain to bring down Greece.
Yeah, he has that little aside where they're talking about the Mitsubishi ideas about land, and then he's saying that I would actually care if I had land in Greece. Anywhere else is totally irrelevant to me.
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
That was funny.
I do like it's just in the dramatis personae that all the descriptions of Jed and OS are pretty funny. Like where I think it's like Mason is his classification is dictum absolutum. Thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, I should say that I do think that there is now one other world leader is taking themselves seriously, and that's Vivian. But Vivian is representing the worst hive that, frankly, probably should be dissolved.
They should have been dissolved well before the OS was discovered too.
Did you like that the dramatis personae took the form of a 7-10 list?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was actually awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Do you think that the 10th member on the 7-10 list, Achilles Mojave, is a cool guy or not? And do you think he's deserving of the last position?
Do enough people like know who and what he is?
I think they're getting told.
Yeah.
The hive leaders know,
That's true.
but no, the world at large does not really know about Achilles. They know maybe about the major.
It makes sense to me that Achilles would be perceived as being very important. I don't quite understand why he's being treated as this strategic mastermind when Achilles in the Iliad was extremely not a strategic mastermind. He was just like a guy that was good at hand-to-hand fighting, right?
That's what I was about to say. The Achilles from the Iliad and the Achilles in this book do not seem related in the least. Because that's not only that, but the Achilles in the Iliad was a short-tempered fool
Yeah, it's like super self-important.
who got upset about the stupidest stuff,
Yeah.
who took every little thing as a slight.
Temperamentally, that's correct.
This is Apollo's interpretation of Achilles.
All of the Iliad was about his temperament.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rage of Achilles, yeah.
It was not all about his temperament.
The Iliad is about the rage of Achilles. That's what it's about. It starts out with the words rage and it ends with Achilles dying.
Absolutely. Sure, as a large thematic point, yes, but there are many smaller points within where he demonstrates skill at arms and skill at tactics and general knowledge.
No, Odysseus is the guy that's good at tactics.
Odysseus's thing is that like he's inspired by Athena, good at tactics. He's amazingly good at tactics. He beat the boar and all that fun stuff. But Achilles is still A tier tactician.
I think Achilles is probably good at like the kind of very limited combat that would be taking place in the Trojan War. Like no applicability whatsoever to anything beyond like very limited ancient warfare.
Remember when he just sat in his tent every single day and let all of his friends die? What a great guy.
That doesn't show anything about his academic understanding of tactics.
Sure. It does show his practical understanding of tactics, though.
Absolutely. But this Achilles has died and learned his lessons, and hopefully is not the same rageful Achilles that the Iliad shows.
I mean, he's in a child's body, so
Yeah.
doesn't have the same potential.
Is it a child's body, or is it the size of an ancient Greek?
Yes.
How tall is he?
Bridger tall.
Size of a 12-year-old.
So totally unclear.
Like a head or two shorter than Mason.
He's
Right. And all I know about Mason's height is that you think that he thinks that he's small.
I was saying that metaphorically.
And I think that he thinks that he's gigantic.
He is gigantic, so that's fair.
His hand fits around Mycroft's neck.
What? Does it? Wait,
I always
whose
imagine
hand?
Mycroft is a scrawny little dude.
Mason's hand.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Achilles. Huh?
I also think that Mycroft is a scrawny little dude. He denies being malnourished, but I don't believe him.
I mean, he doesn't eat. He doesn't sleep.
and these are like points where he's like, "Oh, I've been on like the waking pills for like 2 weeks or something," and
He's like constantly twitching.
yeah,
You two are complaining about Mycroft. I love Mycroft even more in this book.
Me too.
I didn't complain
Me
about
too.
Minecraft, dear.
You said he was irritating.
There are parts where he's fine. I just think he's as narrator, he's annoying.
I think the Hobbs persona is too much.
You think the Hobbs persona is too much? You don't think the Kohaku and the Aeneas and the Laurel and the
What about
Ansele?
pretending that people there were that weren't there, or giving words to Tully that he actually said, or vice versa, or assigning entire hives to a single person, or vice versa? I love that stuff.
Mycroft stuff.
I love those bits.
I really, really, really like those bits.
I did really like when Achilles was going through all the different hive leaders, how that viewpoint was shifting to the next hive leader.
Thank you.
That
was
very
great.
cool.
Yeah, that was a great section.
When I realized what he was doing with that, I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna go just down the list, and it's gonna be just the same scene for 7 times or however many times he does it. But like how he did it was really neat, and I liked that a lot.
Mason Sanctum. No, we are in Casablanca now, dear reader.
Yeah, yeah. I was a bit peeved at that, but whatever. That's just that's just Mycroft being a little POS.
Why is Briar Casal here, you ask?
Of those visits, which was your favorite, and which do you think Achilles will choose?
I don't remember them enough for me to choose a favorite. It was so long ago. I think it was like Wednesday that I read this. I liked his conversation with Cornell the most because, or maybe like Faust. I liked him and Faust as well.
Faust is always fun.
Yeah.
Was Faust the one where he's like, I'm not gonna... No, it was the Utopians that say they're not gonna not ally with him.
Oh, I liked that as well.
Utopia and Achilles make an alliance right off the bat. They're like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That was good. I like that.
Cornell's the only one that sticks in my mind because like there was the whole setup of like seeing the sanctum and the palace.
I think that Cornell gave him the most compelling reason to be on his side.
My side will be the best.
Yeah. Jacket's bigger than everyone else's. Like that's basically his shtick.
Yeah. And it seems like on the face of it, Achilles' disposition would be inclined the most towards Cornell's.
Why?
The one who understands the ancient laws of hospitality.
Yeah. The Masons are the ones that have the most ancient customs, and its style of government is the one most familiar to Achilles.
Agamemnon knew all that stuff too.
Yeah. Okay. Agamemnon was like a raging asshole, like deliberately.
I think Agamemnon's hands were tied behind his back most of the time, and Achilles didn't care.
What? No,
Agamemnon did not need...
did not need to take his favorite slave girl out of pure spite. Right? Like that was not
that part's true. But I was actually more speaking
that's
about
the
his
inciting
daughter.
incident.
He sacrificed his daughter, but if he didn't sacrifice his daughter, he would have been damned by the gods.
That's not entirely clear, right?
It is in the...
If he hadn't offended the gods in the first place, maybe.
Oresteia, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it depends on which Greek playwright you're listening to at the time.
Yeah.
If you're listening to Aeschylus, then yes, it was definitely a mistake for him to sacrifice his daughter like that.
Did anyone enjoy my cross fever dreams as much as I do? I know I have a penchant for them, but when he was bleeding out, was that anyone else's like potentially favorite scene?
Yes, I enjoyed them a lot.
Remind me?
What? Yeah, what were they again?
Clearly not. Okay.
Or you remember when he got kidnapped and like we weren't really clear who his kidnapper was, and he found like we all think it's what's his name, Seneschal Dominic.
Well, he got stabbed first by Dominic, and then second stab, we have no idea who that was.
Probably Saladin. Cause Saladin, I like Saladin parts too.
But Martin's on the case.
But yeah, those parts are great.
Martin's on the case. I like Martin.
He's a good next in line. Maybe he won't be so self-important.
Probably going to be, well, I guess Cornell's still alive, but...
Shall we talk about the Imperator Destinatus?
Jed, yeah.
And if he can't be found?
Surprise, it's
Martin.
I mean, Martin's a great pick.
I'd pick Martin.
Yeah. He's just like a guy who's like totally happy doing his job. He doesn't care about his status or being the most important person in the room.
But he can only see in black and white.
This world right now seems pretty black and white to me.
You think so?
Maybe that's just how it's been constructed. But like some sides are not sympathetic at all to me.
Can you list these non-sympathetic sides?
A Sniper. I don't find Sniper's cause very sympathetic.
The humanist, Madame.
I mean, like, I think Sniper has a point about monopolization of power. Yeah, Madame is terrible.
Yeah, Madame is the
Sure.
Dominic.
I don't think the Mitsubishi are evil, but their land policy is comically bad. Right?
yeah.
Like, that seems designed to foment global war.
They're not getting any points from me by structuring their government like a giant conglomerate or corporation.
Board of directors. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of democratic.
By
Yeah.
wealth.
Yeah, the same way that like people with land can vote.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
how democracies were structured before, like, the Enlightenment happened.
Yeah, thank you, Enlightenment.
That's how it was in Athens. Yeah, thank you, Enlightenment. But yeah, like you can't sell land to a non-Mitsubishi is insane. I can't
Yes, it
believe that
is.
was uncontested for so long.
Yeah.
And the alternative of you can't sell European land to a non-European got shot down.
Yeah.
It was interesting the points of when the whole like Greenpeace the negotiations with Mason, no,
Kosala.
Sala,
Yeah.
when they were basically like, well, if you're going to create a peace zone, that by default,
That's creating war zones.
yeah, they're creating war zones, and so you're basically signaling that you're giving up on peace. I thought that was a good point, and I'm like, oh yeah, that
It was a good conversation. I liked it was in Hindi.
If you were Kosala, would you accept that deal?
Probably. Yeah.
what did she get again from the deal on them?
A lot of land for hospitals.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. Cousins is still the best.
I mean, they do seem to be the only ones who are not like preparing to fight a war, but instead
Yeah.
to help all the people who are about to die from war. So
Right. Is it the best, or they're just the only one that's not the worst?
It sounds like we just described the best, so there's the best.
Yeah.
have your opinions on any of the hives changed majorly since the previous books?
The humanists are even worse. Let's.
Yeah, humanists
well-
continue just to sink lower for me, but
The humanists started out really crappy, and they just got worse.
yeah.
I kind of liked them in the beginning, or at least the idea of constant human betterment as their driving philosophy. But yeah, in practice, well, and also obviously it doesn't help that OS is a humanist organization. But
My opinion of the Utopians has risen.
Really?
Because I know more about the Utopians. Like,
Okay.
we don't know anything about them in the Two Like the Lightning, except for Mycroft saying, it's not them.
And we knew that Kato loved them, and that Mycroft kept saying nice things about them. I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep my thoughts on the Utopians quiet.
I'm relatively positive on them.
Question: was it them?
Was it? It almost doesn't matter at this point, right? I don't know.
Because it seems like they have a standing army now.
wait, was it them that did what?
Started everything.
Everything.
Oh, I mean, maybe. I think that's certainly not out of the realm of possibility.
I think they're probably the ones who could do it.
The reveal of the Delians as like this army of Utopians.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very cool.
But also, it does seem like Utopians are some of the more common deaths in this riot, or at least that's what we see in their coats.
They're the ones that we're seeing, yeah. I'm curious what the Utopians are actually doing. Because it's got to be more than just kind of protecting Jed.
And Mycroft in his cell in Alexandria sees photos of dead dragons and riders.
Lynched dragons, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
with rainbow blood.
They're not a hive, but the Black Law hive lists have risen in my estimation. Gotta respect
Yes, I agree with that, actually. My Black Law stock is the one that's risen the most.
Okay.
Yeah, that are the Utopians.
that. They should force Madame and Dominic into a hive. Like those two just kind of bring down the whole average.
Well, Madame's gonna, if she marries, what's his face, she'll have to be a.
The 8th Black Law. Speaking of the Black Laws, we finally get a listing of all of the Black Laws.
Right.
Did you enjoy that?
I thought they were pretty reasonable, yeah.
They look familiar.
Do you think that the 8th Black Law is being enforced?
Which one's that? It's the,
Do not anger the Leviathans.
the unofficial
no.
8th Black Law. No, clearly not. Yeah, Madame just kind of threw a bomb in there. Yeah, no, I liked that whole scene where Cornell Mason was being a selfless leader who was trying to save the world.
The Masonic filibuster and its like history that we all get in this one chapter is one of my favorite parts of this series, for sure.
It's really good.
That was pretty good.
I thought that was just like a good showcasing of character because Yeah, he could have just gotten another senator, one of his senators, to do it, but he's like, I'm not going to ask people to do things that I wouldn't do myself, so I'm going to go and do it and march on in. Maybe I get shot by a sniper. There's really nothing that would be able to stop that.
That scene was pretty cool. He's basically marches in and says, "Oh, all right." He points at one of them. All right,
I'm a senator
I'm
now.
the senator now. Yeah, I'm a senator now. Yeah,
He doesn't even point.
yeah.
The youngest one just immediately was already running up the aisle to hand over their sash.
Yeah,
Good little bootlickers.
bootlickers. I think just discipline. I think that's what that is.
I don't
Sure.
know.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes to that. Or those discipline or bootlickers.
What's the difference?
Bootlicker, you're looking for attention for yourself. Discipline is self-control, right? It's self-mastery.
Yeah, sounds like bootlicker to me.
Discipline is knowledge of procedure and following them.
Yeah.
The Masons aren't as procedure driven; they are dictator
Eh.
driven. So, but they are.
No, I think Cornell Mason is ruled by his own laws, right?
His oath.
Yeah, I don't mean to say that he's not. Just that when you have a dictator, my cynical take would look like they're trying to please him. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily.
I mean, we did see one of the Imperial Guard with a bloody nose because Cornell probably punched him in the face.
Wasn't that a Spanish guard?
No,
Or was
no,
okay.
that was an Imperial Guard in gray and black piping
I forget what the context of that was.
in order to rescue Jehovah from the Censeire's conclave after the second assassination attempt.
Right. Yes, this is a passionate father.
Yeah, and the guard was probably like, "No, you can't go to an assassination site." He was like, "I don't care."
I'm the emperor, man. I like the Black Laws. I think they're pretty good. I like Hobbstown standard of conduct. I think that's like an enlightened. Sorry, we're getting a very good face painted on the Black Laws in this part.
Their own 8 laws. I mean, we also do get the story of Castel Natakari, our Black Law Tribune that shows up, and isn't it convenient that only one of each of the Tribunes shows up to this Senate session?
Yeah.
We don't have to get the full cast of 9. No, we just get 3.
Yeah. What's required to override a tribunal veto?
I think a larger majority.
Like a super majority, probably. Eh?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's insane that they have that rule.
It's a lot of power.
Yeah.
Which rule? The veto or the veto override?
The veto.
The veto.
9 people with a veto.
The veto is one of the things that seems to have brought down the Roman Republic.
And immediately 9 people have that veto power.
Yeah. Or aren't there 10?
No. 3 gray law, 3 white law, 3 black law.
And Jed is one of the gray laws.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you like the 8 rules of Hobbstown?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they worked. I thought it was funny that when
Why I respect Black Laws.
when they were I forget if it's the narrator, but or when Hobbes is basically like they named it after me, but they're going against everything I said. They're not going
These
against
aren't
it,
my
but
laws.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that because it characterizes Thomas Hobbes as an idiot. I think he would get it right away.
It's Mycroft's imagining of Thomas Hobbes, and it is
Oh,
Mycroft's version of flawed and expository.
Mycroft has been imagining me this whole time, and he's been getting me totally wrong.
So wrong.
Now, he's been imagining a reader from the future. You are not from the future.
all right. Also, sorry, this is another tangent. But the young reader dialogue thing was a bit much.
The reader who hasn't read the history yet.
Yes, yeah, that was a little much. I'm like, okay, we don't really need this.
Oh, come on. It's such a fun little hypothetical.
That was perhaps self-indulgent, a little bit.
That's the type of thing I talk about when I say that Mycroft was kind of annoying as the narrator in this book. But I liked Hobb.
If you ever feel like being self-indulgent as an author, give your narrator some self-indulgence.
Yeah.
I did like the Hobb stuff though. Like that meta narrative was fun. I mean, the book is about are we going to go to war, and that's Hobbes' whole thing is. Well, of course, that's the only thing that people are going to do is.
Man is in a constant state of war.
Yeah.
Yep. Mycroft has always been convinced he's at war. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way that the Black Laws actually seem to be able to like have their little libertarian anarchist colony, and it actually makes sense in this world because it's something you have to buy into as an adult. You can't just have children. Well, I assume there are children there, but children are protected.
There are Black Law children, but they are ruled by the Grey Laws at a minimum.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how the land rights work here. Maybe this is just like an unclaimed area of the globe. That's famously a problem if you want to live in a stateless society. It's like, well, sorry, all the land has been claimed by states in our current world. And so I guess this isn't the case in Terra Ignota. So there you go. You have this kind of society being viable now. And it works because ideally they can weed out the idiots. So you get people showing up that aren't willing to actually cooperate with others, and it seems like they would probably just get killed or lynched or whatever.
Yes, it relies a lot on self-policing, which it seems like they probably do.
And then if you're not willing to self-police, then you can just be part of a hive.
Speaking of other self-policing nations, did you like the mention of Neverland?
I don't remember this.
Neverland is the seaborne nation strat, which assembles around the flagship Ahab's Folly.
That was funny.
Which also brings another book into this conversation.
Yeah, what's the white whale of the series? Like a perfect society?
Is it Tully Marty?
Is it Tully Marty? I don't think it's Tully Marty.
Who else could it be? It's got to be Tully.
Mycroft isn't interested enough in killing Tully Marty for it to be Tully Marty, in my opinion.
Mycroft isn't interested enough in killing Tully Marty.
Yeah. The point of Moby Dick is that Ahab is literally willing to sacrifice everything to go for Moby Dick. Mycroft is not willing to sacrifice everything to kill Tully Marty. He's willing to put things before that, like Bridger or Jed Mason or the goals that they're working towards, right?
Okay, then if it's not Tully, who fits that?
I don't know. That's
I'd say nobody. The closest one is definitely Tully because he actually wants to kill her and he's obsessed with her.
He doesn't kill Tully Marty when he first sees Tully Marty, right? He walks the other way.
At that time, could he? I don't think he was literally able to.
I think he was free.
Well, he was just with all the servicers, right?
I think that was the only time he was able to.
Yeah, he was with a bunch of servicers.
No, I meant like he wasn't. Like I imagine, like Jed put some like spell on him, and that was broken when Jed was killed.
I don't think spells exist in this world.
Not like a literal spell, but like he broke his spirit to the point where
I think Bridger spells exist.
Bridger can will spells into existence. I don't think Bridger uses spells.
He had magic wands. What do you call it? Comes out of those?
I just think Jed like saw into his soul so deep that he was shaken to the core, and he literally couldn't do violence anymore.
I agree with Hurin here.
Wait, I think you're a libertarian about free will, Hurin.
What are you talking about?
You think people are ultimately responsible for their actions, right? Like they have like a deep sense of free will. So how would that coincide with your reading of what Jed did to Mycroft then?
This is a book.
I'm a Brillist in this universe.
I see. So free will doesn't exist in this book for you.
No, of course not.
Okay.
No.
Somebody's literally writing it. And Minecraft is also writing it.
Like even within the conceit of the world, like if we imagine the characters were real, then you still wouldn't think that if the world is as Ada Palmer constructed it, then it's a world with free will.
I don't have to think about it.
I think free will is disproved by sets, and that's why everyone's so angry at them.
I mean, yes, I'm pretty radical against sets at this point. Like, they absolutely should not exist. It's deeply unethical to make them.
Speaking of the 8th Black Law, but also now the proposed new 9th Black Law, the set ban. I will read the language here. It is an intolerable crime to take action which will cripple a child's ability to participate in and interface naturally and productively with human society and the world at large.
Way too vague.
Way too vague. Way too vague. You could use that to justify literally anything.
Yeah.
And that's why Mason started reading from the start of their constitution.
Yeah.
Which says that a black law cannot be anything that is open or subjective or...
What they did to Minecraft is wrong. What they did to the sets is wrong. But this is just...
What they did to Ganymede?
This is why people hate the cousins. Because of their stupid moralizing.
What was what they do to Ganymede again?
Well, we saw how Ganymede couldn't stand prison. That was our first real clue into how insanely Ganymede has been affected by Madame's conditioning.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it depends to me. Like, I think that Felix Faust had a pretty good idea of it. Just like, okay, so Danae and Ganymede, they had a very atypical upbringing that had definitely forced them into a certain mold. But the problem with sets is that once you're a set, you cannot change, right? Like it's impossible for you to think any other way. So is it impossible for Ganymede to change or to think any other kind of way?
I don't think so. I don't think the same toxins were used on Ganymede.
It shouldn't fall under a black law then. I think maybe you could have the hives legislate for their own members, but it should not be a black law.
Okay, so do you think that the proposed black law should be no set sets?
Maybe.
Yeah, because that would go back to the specificity and not it being like that's very actionable. It's like this thing has a very specific definition, and we're not allowing it.
Okay.
And my problem would be like it would open the door to making more and more black laws that are very specific, and I think that would probably be a bad idea.
And that was probably Mason's point.
Yeah. I guess it's not self-evident that you shouldn't make a set, which is what black laws have to be.
And the utopian response to the set law in the past, indefinite stasis. Why do you think Utopia in particular is so concerned with that black law?
They're clearly messing with their own members. That is not necessarily a set thing. Are there utopian sets? I don't think there are, or we haven't seen any.
Well, they're all raised with visors.
Yeah, like I think it's their whole thing is like they're sort of transhumanist and like they're wanting to make progress. They would view no sets as, even if they aren't doing that specifically, that they view that as a limitation on other similar or set adjacent things like the visors.
Maybe the utopians are hiding their inhumanity from the other hives. I think that's probably very likely that they're hiding their inhumanity from other tribes. They've probably been doing a lot of genetic tinkering and whatnot. Maybe the U-Beasts are actually even utopians who have got their minds uploaded into U-Beasts.
Ooh, fun concept. I like that idea.
Yeah. Clearly they've got a lot to hide.
I would also bring up the issue I think exists purely for the sake of the story, but also is very much not inconceivable. That Tully Mardy's skeleton has decayed so much on the moon that he is no longer able to live on Earth without assistive devices.
Tully Mardy sucks.
He requires a brace and etc. And I think that the rearing of children, including Terra the moon baby, who ultimately died from infirmities on the moon, their whole thing is extraplanetary colonialism, and that is going to result in deaths. And it is going to result in children who are born in unfamiliar environments and their possible maiming and manslaughter, if depending on which legal system you apply. Infanticide.
I don't know why the utopians safeguarded Tully Mardy like they did, and why they allowed Tully Mardy to come back to Earth like they did. So I think that's probably a pretty compelling reason to think that the utopians were behind everything. But even setting that aside, I think it's very unlikely that they are giving Tully Mardy their full support. I wouldn't be surprised if, for example, this kind of skeletal degradation, I would be very surprised if that wasn't something that was being worked on by them behind the scenes.
They clearly have the technology to make every living space on the moon a centrifuge. So the fact that they don't tells me that they don't want to fix that issue in the most medically sound manner. They want the data of decaying skeletons. They want the information about how microgravity affects the human body and how it degrades it. Maybe they haven't fixed everything yet, but
we haven't seen any utopians that are suffering from this, right?
We haven't seen many utopians.
Yeah, I mean, this is going back to like I think that they're messing around with themselves behind the scenes.
Do you think that all of the lunar utopians could come back to Earth, or would they die?
I'm not sure. Yeah, we don't know about enough of Utopia.
Yeah, we've always seen of them is when they're using their cloaks, basically, and the U-Beasts.
At this point in the story, they're literally invisible, right?
Most of them.
Yeah.
Certainly most of the ones that we see around.
And then, yeah, it seems like when they show up, some mob assembles and they get lynched.
The Delians that we see come into existence out of nowhere is very much in keeping with the hidden security that we've seen everywhere in this story. The hidden security in the OS Bash, hidden security in Romanova, in the Senate.
For once, the security has been effective.
Yeah.
I think literally the first time.
Some giant saucer manta ray turtle thing put a force field around JDD Mason, and a crystal cheetah or whatever snapped up the gun before it could even be fired.
That was pretty cool.
Speaking of poor security, how the hell did they steal the secrets of the Masons?
Because everyone's security sucks, except for when the Utopians specifically are there, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like, who stole it?
I don't know. It just happened. We'll find
Just
out.
happened. Yeah.
Maybe.
Someone that wants to start the war.
Maybe if we're lucky, we'll find out this book
It's Tully Marty with like a spandex suit.
with a candlestick.
Yeah.
Would you wear a badge on your chest telling the OS to kill you?
No. I think OS is a terrible idea, so
I think not only would I not do that, I think it's one of the stupidest ideas ever.
yeah. It's
If I was a humanist, I would.
screw the human. No, it doesn't actually make sense for the humanists to do that because they're all about individuality, right?
Yes, and they're all about
That's
individual
also a
excellence.
problem I have with OS.
Hey, but Aesop Quarryman did it.
Ugh.
Aesop Quarryman.
Don't make athletes senators.
The strangest senator. I wasn't elected, but that was the coolest exception to all humanists are murderers, all elected humanists are murderers. No, I wasn't elected.
That's fair, I guess. It's insane to just be like, you have the most gold medals. You're now a senator.
No, it's not you have the most gold medals. It's you are a hero's hero. You are a champion's champion.
I mean, their governing body is literally the Olympic Committee, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
One of their organs is
War,
the
sorry,
Olympic Committee.
yeah, one of
The heart.
I mean, like the reason that person is a hero's hero is because of Olympic performance, isn't it?
But also because they saved people at a sinkhole. Like they were in first place at the marathon, but a sinkhole opened up underneath some spectators and they diverted themselves, and every other athlete followed their example until
That's such a
every
low
last
bar.
person in the sinkhole was rescued. And also because they were team leader.
Like, what kind of sociopath do you have to be? Just keep running. Yeah. Well,
I mean, I'm sure that's happened.
I can't imagine just like running just past. Oh, I guess someone will deal with that.
Yeah, someone else will do it.
not my problem. The whole target stuff is. I mean, I guess they needed a way to differentiate sides, but
But the sides are so dumb.
yeah,
Let's say all these people opt into this like system where by potentially sacrificing themselves, where they have like a 0.01% chance of being killed. How many people are actually going to opt into this system? And then when it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and the chances of you dying just keep getting greater and greater and greater, and the amount of variables that they have to, put into their brains to choose, but they're limited by only the people who can choose to kill themselves. It's not viable, and it's kind of stupid.
Tragedy of the commons.
Yeah, it's also the case that humans are bad at estimating probabilities. So I don't think that very many people in any society would be like, I volunteered.
It is true that it seems like the risk of getting assassinated by OS is roughly only double the chance that you'll die in a car accident randomly.
But notably, there's actually nothing you can do to mitigate the chance because it relies on insane variables that you have no idea about. It's not anything that you do that makes you a target for OS.
Yeah.
It's the effect
Correct.
that you might have 3 or 4 steps down the line.
There is actually a mitigating circumstance that you can do. A
Don't
couple,
be attached to
actually.
any important people. Just like isolate yourself in Antarctica.
And be completely isolated. 2, join Utopia.
Oh, yeah, no Utopians have died. There you go. It's a marketing campaign.
Could you just also use the Utopian cars too?
No, because you could still get killed by Kato.
Do they have access to the Utopian Cars grid?
No, they only get like positional data.
Oh, well, they can still. So how would Kato be able to get someone in a Utopian car?
Kato kills people through means that aren't cars.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay.
About half the people are killed by Kato's means, right? Yeah.
Yep. Kato or Thisbe, yeah. But Thisbe, I'm guessing, is actually Kato.
Thisbe, I don't think, has had any original thoughts or methods.
Kato made her boots. Kato made her smell sense. Maybe Kato even made Thisbe's rinse. Who knows?
I'm glad that she hasn't shown up. I'm glad that Carlisle hasn't shown up. I'm glad that Sniper had almost no screen time.
You
This has made the book better.
Oh my god. You did not like Sniper's bits?
I
We talked about last episode.
was okay with Sniper's appearance in this. I think that if Sniper spent any more time on the page, I would get annoyed again.
Okay.
Something I really like about this book is you talked about earlier. It's uncensored compared to the first two, and we're given insight into the first two from his notes from this one. And he's kind of off the leash, which before he was pretty crazy and still fun to read, but it makes him a lot more interesting this time.
And we get more and more notes from 9A.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get more from 9A. And it's fun to think about like what he's writing now in the other two books compared to what we're getting in now, and what's happening to him at the time and how it's impacting the way he's writing the other one.
Dissolution.
Sure. That's also not what I was thinking of. That's fine.
That kind of meta element I did like a lot. When he would reference himself writing the first two books, and interesting that we got Sniper negotiated its chapter.
Yeah.
And
We got that weird chapter from Sniper.
Yeah, that I did like, and I did like, like I said, the Mycroft giving us like meta insight into the other two books.
Yeah, and since we're given a lot more of uncensored Mycroft, or supposedly uncensored, it makes us think what was censored in the first book as well.
Yeah, I don't believe that this is uncensored.
It's probably not, but we're given a lot more than we were in the first two.
I don't believe it either because 9A is talking.
Yeah, 9A is directly interfering in Mycroft's version of this, right? Ostensibly just through translations, but...
I do have a specific question about 9A. When Mycroft is dying from the stab wound, or sorry, right before Mycroft is dying from the stab wound, fear tinged my eyes with salt. Fear, it was strange, for all the weight and war and worry as humanity churned towards its likely end. I had not had this fear, personal, fanged with loved one's pain, not sense. And then in brackets, it says Bridger died. And then in parentheses, Mycroft's draft left this sentence incomplete, but the intended end was obvious. 9A. Do you think that was the intended end?
I doubt it. I think it was when he blew up his parents.
Okay. But Mycroft frequently denies being a patricide.
Yeah.
And says so jealously. Like, oh, Sniper could commit patricide, but I could not. The one crime the gods denied me.
Oh! Maybe it was Saladin. I don't know. Saladin's terrible in this book. I don't like Saladin at all here.
This book?
Okay.
The Batman scene was interesting, though.
That was so over the top. I did kind of dig it, but it was like extremely over dramatic.
It just kind of feel like it's almost like in a different book almost.
Yeah, like Saladin's like crunching on like a human bone or something. It's good meat.
Look, it's real hard to make bone at the same pace you can make meat, okay?
I don't.
So these people don't get meat on the bone out of their meat maker.
But they could print it, no?
Not out of the meat maker, I don't think. Meat makers don't do meat on the bone.
I feel like if you are able to make nuclear reactors in a trivial way, I don't know, whatever. This is me. I shouldn't mention the science in this.
I'm sure Utopia could do it, no problem. But that's medical technology.
I should never mention the science because none of it makes any sense.
No, this makes perfect sense to me.
Look, as someone who has grown both meat and bones in bioreactors, I will tell you, it takes a lot longer to make bone.
Yeah, but you still could if you wanted to, right?
But I don't buy that like a commercial product would be capable of it.
In a world,
it's not capable of it. It's that nobody wants it, and so they don't produce it.
I don't know about nobody wants it. We've seen some long-standing traditions in this world.
Yeah.
If you could have the best tasting meat without having to like get the bone, would you do it?
I don't eat meat, so I don't know.
Yes.
But that's the thing, like it does impact the flavor, it seems. That's what Mycroft is saying.
I would believe that bone marrow impacts the flavor of meat around it. Sure.
It impacts the flavor of meat in our current world. I like the
I'm unfamiliar with the flavors of meat. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Again, like the technology level seems to be so high. I don't know. Like it seems like it would be easy to do. If you're at a point where nuclear reactors are too trivial even for a school science fair, then you're pretty high.
It's just like everything with the Utopians and the existence of the U-Beast is the big thing where I'm like, okay, if they can make
dragons.
Yeah, if they can make dragons, why? Like, what can they not do.
And it makes perfect sense to me that why would you want to make something that you're not going to eat?
I don't like the conflation of trivial physics with trivial biology.
What do you mean trivial physics here?
Splitting the atom, that's trivial.
Okay.
But also, maybe these meat makers can add in the bone flavor to the meat. Maybe they can improve the meat. And Mycroft's like,
Right.
oh, it's not the same. But Mycroft is an idiot, so
He's just an idiot. Yeah. I actually don't like how far it is that we have to go. It's like maybe like okay, Mycroft may just be an idiot right now, or he might be just like hopelessly biased. I would like it to be a little less that.
I mean, it's the same thing in Star Trek with Cisco and his like, oh, replicated food is not the same as home cooked food,
Yeah, I mean that's clearly ridiculous. I think right.
and synthahol is not the same as alcohol.
The replicated food is like molecularly identical, isn't it?
It is.
Uh,
It's all psychosomatic.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing for Minecraft.
and Caesar's leg.
I think people get some sort of like perverse enjoyment from, I don't know, ingesting an animal instead of growing it, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
Yeah, I could see that.
Though, word of Dr. Ada Palmer is that in this world there are still, mostly in the European Union, protected origins of meat. For example, like prosciutto di Parma still exists in this world.
I bet Wagyu still exists too.
How
Hmm.
does the protected categories of like cheese and wine
Yeah,
exist as well?
Cultural products.
Going back to the hive question, the Europeans have plummeted in my. The Europeans are one step above the humanists in my estimations.
I think that's
okay.
a bit harsh, but
I never liked him in the first place.
I think it's fair.
and where are the Mitsubishi?
One step above them.
Okay.
I think I agree.
Because at least they seem to have a government that is moderately functional. I don't know.
And apparently buying all the land.
I'm buying all the land. At least they have like a strategy. I don't know what the European strategy is.
I do want to talk. Like, I am curious as far as like land and going back to the origin or protected origins and the land stuff. I am curious about the reservations, the various stuff that gets cited. So like they have like there's the like we get a Catholic reservation, which is interesting. Like Rome's apparently like its own thing.
And the
There's
Pope.
like the great like the Pope is still like these things still exist, and then like the great like there's like an African reservation that's referenced.
I think that's a nature reserve.
The Great African Reservation.
Yeah, that's basically that's basically what they say it is. But yeah, I'm just curious. I don't think we're gonna get much about this. Like those seem like just flavoring largely, which I think is fine. Like it's very cool flavoring.
You think that reservations will persist in a global war?
Like the Catholic Church is the first thing that gets nuked.
Wow, that would in some ways that makes sense, but given
I bet someone blows up Spain and Madame's wedding. But Madame doesn't die, it's just Spain.
Oh. And then we have Empress, and she leads the hive.
Well,
yeah. Ooh.
Well, really, this is curious that we haven't, because I was expecting like this after Seven Surrenders. I was expecting the state of the world to basically be like Madame's in charge, or well, Madame via Jed and her puppets is in charge. But we're still, obviously, people are still resisting that, or at least we haven't gotten there yet. So maybe it is going along with this. Someone blows up the wedding thing. Maybe like in order for Jed to be in charge, someone's got like Cornell can't be the emperor anymore. And
How do you think that's going to happen?
I think Cornell has to be dead, right?
Yeah, well, someone's gonna kill him. Like basically, there's still dominoes that need to happen in order for this Empress Madame to fully happen. I mean, she would be Emperor of Europe, I guess, but
Well, her goal is always to be the power behind the throne. That is
Power behind
her
the throne, yeah.
goal.
right.
Yeah.
I was expecting her to have no power at the start of this book, actually.
Why is that?
Because now she's revealed she's supposed to be the power behind the scenes. Obviously, I would imagine she would be incredibly unpopular because she's kind of like the flashy, scandalous part of what's happening with the world leaders.
You would think that OS would be unpopular, and quite a few, and it has its own worst.
That's just the
side of
humanists
war.
being idiots,
But they've been
Right.
saving the world.
allegedly, according to their own.
Yeah, calculations. Yeah.
I guess they also have Papa's calculations, but
True.
I don't know. I don't trust these calculations. I think it's insane to think that you could calculate this. Or, for example, Tully Marty's 6 months into the war.
Yeah. What processing power is in those coats? Jesus.
Yeah. There's got to be like a server farm run by the Utopians somewhere that he has access to, right?
There's gotta be. There's gotta be. Because just running the cars apparently takes a giant building.
It would take a giant building.
Oh, it absolutely would take a giant building, for sure.
And more than one set
Uh,
set.
I disagree. I
That is
disagree
true.
about that, but I don't believe that the sets can run the cars in 20x real time.
Also, there's only one, like, there's actually just one person running the cars with no break right now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because it's one of them is in they're protected custody or whatever, and they're like alternating. Yeah.
Sydney, I think, is the one that's running them, right?
Sydney is the one who is currently running the cars.
But Eureka is.
Sydney is the Cartesian set that is currently running the cars and showing the Utopians how the system works. And the Utopians, they run their own car system without sets at all.
Right.
And so I think they're going to attempt to run the Sinir Weeks Booth 6 Hive transportation network without a set eventually. And that's why all the cars are slow right now.
I would be shocked if they didn't have interfaces to computers, the Utopians. Like
They
direct neural
promise
interfaces.
not to make humanoid U-beasts.
Uh-huh.
We know, yeah.
I think their promises are worth actually nothing.
I don't think nothing, but I think that given how little we know about them, I am team. They are messing with humans.
They seem to be keeping their promises to Madame so far, at least on the surface.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen anything of that, right?
Yeah, but she's happy.
But, like, I think when I say that the promises mean nothing, I think, like, you can't trust them if you're not looking at them, right?
Oh.
I am upset with how many Utopians are dying in these novels, given their so-called obsession with death.
Yeah, allegedly, they take this very seriously, right?
Yeah, when they investigate the cause of a death, and then they take steps to ensure that cause of death never happens again. And I'm sorry, but a lot of them have died to riots right now.
All riots are still happening, yeah.
So are you implying that you think that, well, I guess you know what happens, but like, are you implying that it's possible that...
I'm implying that they could have kept people safer.
Especially their own people.
Yeah.
They could have kept their own people safer.
Okay, no, that makes more sense because I was just extrapolating that they were gonna basically they wanted war to prevent. Part of them were maybe pro-war in the effort of not allowing riots to happen again, but they, I don't know. They don't seem totalitarian though, so I don't think that's valid.
Kip's conspiracy theory. They're allowing Utopians to die in order to make people think that Utopia is not unaffected by this current crisis.
I buy that.
That Utopia is currently suffering.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Maybe they're putting out like pea zombies into the world to get lynched. So no true Utopians are dying, but they can pretend that they are anyways.
Maybe they're just sending out little emails that say, hey, don't leave these areas, or go out with like 5 buddies, or call for an escort if you need to go. And they're just letting the ones who don't follow those precautions die.
Or they're just manufacturing the evidence of their deaths in the first place.
Oh, do you think the static is faked? Okay.
Yeah, it could be. It could be extremely easy for them to do that.
Extremely easy.
Yeah. Just like leak some faked images on the internet at the same time as you have the static going. Who's gonna who's gonna verify?
Make a fake body with your meat maker. Put it out in some rubble and with a dead dragon. And
I do just want to point out that there's a lot of things that would have to be lies as to what's going on. So
no, in this, there would not have to be lies. Not many, anyways.
Well, okay, lies that the text isn't things the text is not telling us.
Oh yeah.
So is it
Well, that's the case anyways. The text is telling us
things.
very little about a lot of these things. I probably deliberately.
Yeah, so is it that unreasonable that Bridger stuff isn't clicking for me in the sense that I'm waiting for another shoe to drop about what's going on with him? Is that unreasonable given this current line of thought?
Dude, Bridger's gone.
The not clicking with me is up for discussion. But
Okay, that's fine. Okay, sorry. I'll rephrase that. The idea that something else was going on with Bridger and / Achilles now, but like
no, of course, yeah, no. Keep that conspiracy mindset.
Okay. So that
The Utopians created like a god generating machine and that like misfired.
Kip's new conspiracy mindset is that no utopian has died in the story,
Nice. Yeah, excellent.
okay.
other than natural causes and freak accidents.
All the more reason to dislike them.
But we know that Minecraft killed like Apollo is a utopian, right?
Do we know that Mycroft killed Apollo?
Okay, yes, and so
I think
again,
Apollo probably is dead.
again, if this is the type of thing that the text is lying about, then I am absolutely okay thinking that what Bridger was doing could have been lied about.
yes, you are.
Okay,
Here, did I catch that you don't like Utopia?
All right, they're better than the Europeans and the
Humanists?
Humanists.
Mitsubishi and the humanists.
Low
So
bars.
there's that, yeah. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him.
Greenpeace keeps threatening to break out of Mitsubishi, but I really think that the Olympians should split out of the humanists because I don't think the humanists have any other thing going for them.
I agree.
yeah,
I think more hives in general would be a good idea.
I think that's probably going to happen. I did like that whole Greenpeace, the whole like discussion around. I think that was in the discussion with Kasala about the voter share and all the the politics around Greenpeace and the PR around that. Like that was kind of cool or interesting, at least conceptually.
I know Kyptan's utopian, but I forgot what you two picked.
You really forgot what Ash picked?
I'm assuming Masonic, but that's just because he's a
Oh, yeah.
doofus.
It's actually impossible to like responsibly pick any of the hives because we don't know anything about how like they actually work.
I know that the cousins help people. That's all I need to know.
You know what I think is irresponsible? Multi-hive citizenship doesn't exist.
That's fair.
That would create a lot of jobs for a lot of lawyers.
I'm almost leaning Black Law right now.
Okay, I can respect that.
I don't know. I think I'd have to go back and see what I said on the first episode. I might have said humanist. I don't remember, but
Gross.
Wow.
now
Embarrassing moment.
yeah, we don't need to. Yeah, I don't know what I would say now. Probably maybe cousin. I don't.
Whoa, that's unexpected.
Well, I don't know. A lot
Karen,
of
you're
it's the
bringing me
fact-
around on them a little bit.
I mean, the Utopians are the coolest, but that's just they still are the
Well,
cool
yeah, 'cause
space. They're the cool space hive.
they're cool.
Yeah.
They're really cool.
They
There's no
are the
arguing
one
there.
aimed at sci-fi nerds.
Yeah. So but to Ash's point, the story is at such a high level in terms of like what we're seeing that
We don't even know their policies. Like we know the Mitsubishi land policy, and do we know anything else about like what they're what's expected of them, like how they're governed, how effectively they're governed? We know the Cousin Feedback Bureau was nonsense and it was bad direct
Yeah, we
democracy.
know that cousins
yeah,
can't govern at all. That doesn't bother me at all.
or
Yeah.
that they weren't, or at least that they weren't self-governing. But good.
Yeah, but we don't know what they were doing with like building parks. I don't know. Yeah, so
They're
like
doing
what's
stuff that needed to be done. They're the go-getters. They're rolling up their sleeves.
what were the lives of the people in the hives like? I would be fine, I guess, being a
Pastoral.
person who was working in the Masonic Empire because they seem to have well-defined jobs. That's nice, I guess. I don't know.
They're very organized.
I like this kind of student aesthetic of the Brillists. They're cool, like the Gordian Hive. Like I don't know. I would like to be someone debating in a university all day. That'd be fun.
I like the Brillis. I hate the sweaters. I hate
Those-
sweaters.
Oh, you're wearing a sweater.
No, I'm not.
No, he's gonna
This
say
is a long
This is a shirt.
It's
That's
long
not a
sleeve
sweater.
shirt.
Shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that past a certain level of thickness, that I don't know. It's hard to see on this.
I have like
That's not a
20
sweater.
sweaters behind me and I wear none of them.
Hilarious.
I love sweaters.
Do hoodies kind of sweaters? I love.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, then sweaters are great because they're very comfortable.
Okay, I know that the cousins are going to do some bad stuff that I'm going to hate, but I don't know. I guess I respect them too much.
I don't
Just
think
because
they
they're
could.
like we're the help people faction. That's all you need
Yeah,
to know.
like that's all I need to know. That's admirable.
I don't think they're gonna end up doing bad things like the way the humanists are. I think the extent of their bad things is basically going to be, which is also still bad, but it's going to be the general theme that their system is ultimately corrupt. But we already kind of have that, and that's already kind of
Yeah, they're already drafting an interim constitution with a
They have an
democratic.
interim constitution.
Yeah.
They're drafting
they
a
do.
new one. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just thought that Storm would hate the cousins because they're all women.
Well,
fair.
yeah, yeah.
Storm could be a woman, though.
Yeah.
If he tries hard,
That's true.
but then he hate himself.
I'm curious here, and why aren't you like a white law?
I don't know enough about the white law. Nothing. I suppose is keeping me from being a white law, but
Okay.
it's also not a hive.
They definitely can't govern themselves.
They seem terrible.
Yeah,
Might be the most obnoxious faction from the little we've seen.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The character laws.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That brings up what I don't like about the cousins is like they're just so moralizing and judgmental.
Yeah.
yeah.
But they allegedly help people, right?
Yeah, which is why I like.
But
them.
like,
I can ignore the other stuff.
what if when they're trying to help people?
What about utopians is not helping people?
Yeah. What if when they're trying to help people, they're actually not helping people at all? Like the senseiers seem not helpful to me.
n-
That's not
They've-
a cousin thing. That's just a sensei thing.
It's a mostly cousin thing, isn't
yeah,
it?
it's mostly a cousin thing, I think, right?
How do you like the return of Julia Doria Pamphili on $20,000 bail?
Don't like it.
Yeah, why are we doing?
I don't think I meant to like it, but it felt like Ada Palmer climbing on a very small soapbox for a moment and saying Bale is stupid and then climbing off.
But bail posted by the Colonna family is ironclad.
Yeah, sure.
Are the senseiers a cousin thing?
No,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
They feel like a cousin thing.
because Carlisle is our sensei.
Senseiers are cool. The problem is that their existence is stupid.
Senseiers are not cool. Their existence is good, and their mission is hopeless from the get-go.
The idea that you could just call somebody to their house to talk about religion and like important subjects is, I think, a really good one. And they also kind of serve as a therapist. Which, what's wrong with either of those things?
I think it's a good idea. I think that most of the examples that we get in the story are not.
All of the examples, let's be fair.
Yeah, have had more negative impacts on the people that they are, their parishioners, as they call them, which is also interesting choice of word. I think
My
it's
problem
correct.
is-
Well, that might be Mycroft's choice of word.
The senseiers pretend that they're coming from things from an objective, like a non-biased position, right? Like the senseiers are meant to not proselytize at you. They're meant to not betray any of their own feelings towards any of these topics you discuss. But I think that's dishonest. I think what you need to do for this sort of thing to work is acknowledge your biases off the start and then try to work through a conversation like that in a more honest way. Like, I think the problem with the society so far that has repeated over and over again is people simply denying certain aspects of the human experience, like religion or gender or nation, geographical position being important to people. They're just pretending this doesn't exist, and it causes problems. I think the senseiers are like one facet of this. Like, you can't just pretend these things don't exist. It doesn't make sense.
And it does seem
Yeah,
like people know the hidden religions of many of the senseiers. And like
Yeah.
that's what they choose them by.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, they're the personal sensei to the King of Spain. I wonder which religion they are.
Are they Buddhist? Are they really into like Shintoism?
I
Yeah.
don't disagree with what you said. In fact, I agree with everything that you said.
Me too.
And yet, I still think that the idea of being able to call somebody to your house and like this being a very normal part of society, and talking about important subjects like religion, and working through that with somebody is good.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Yes, I
Imagine the
that's something to be nice.
senseiers without the first Black Law.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
I think you just get like normal religious functionaries.
You can just call them. No, you get free religious functionaries
Sure,
in a 2-hour travel time from your house.
sure, yeah, that's fair.
Maximum.
Kip, can you read the first Black Law for us?
I was almost expecting you to just have that up on a screen.
That's
It
what I
is an
thought, too,
intolerable
actually.
crime.
Or knowing them by heart.
Yeah,
Cool.
Actually, that's what I'm more surprised by.
No, I don't know them all. It is an intolerable crime to take an action likely to cause extensive or uncontrolled loss of human life or suffering of human beings. Clarification by Senatorial Consult 2144-3. Proselytizing outside reservations violates this law.
Yeah. The whole idea that you can't talk about religion because of that is ridiculous.
Yep. It is a Senatorial Consult.
Because it is the case that there are some religions that are very nonviolent, right? I don't know if Like there's Jainism, right? That's its whole thing is nonviolent. So
Yep.
I think it would be difficult to legally justify not being able to talk about that, right? Like a lot of New Age spiritualism is pretty. I don't know. Like I guess you could argue that people will kill them because they find them obnoxious, or like astrology or crystals, or like how do you cleanly define what is religious talk from what is not religious talk? That's something that famously is very difficult to do.
Cannerism.
Cannerism, yeah. Or like political philosophies. A lot of them can have very religious undertones to them, or even religious overtones to them. What's the basis
Yep.
for the King of Spain's power, right? That coming from blood. Is it not divine right of kings right there?
Look, Spain is in a tough place right now. He only has one living heir.
And he simply has to start a civil war over it.
Simply has to. Look, there's no other option.
That was probably the moment where I was like, okay, King of Spain, you're not a good guy.
He can't let his dynasty end. Can't be him. Gotta be someone
no.
else.
Honor.
Divine right of kings. No, we can't let the Bourbon dynasty die. We have to make the hive system go to war.
I was thinking that well, at least in Seven Surrenders, the system is very Habsburg, right?
Also, did anyone elect the King of Spain again, or is he just fully in place due to the coup that he pulled when the government died?
I think
He
it's
definitely
coup.
was not elected. Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't show us that scene, at least.
Like all of the other members of government died, and then he was like, "Oh, I guess I'm taking charge."
I mean, we also didn't technically see Ancelet's election. We saw a recording of it that was used as evidence to convince Occam. So maybe he was elected through some method after the complete destruction of the European government.
Kind of on the procedural. This is tangentially related. Back to the procedural note. I did like the whole grandma and grandpa no BS policies, like during the Senate hearing. That was fun.
You like
I thought
Jin
it
and
was really-
Jin and Charlemagne Guildbreaker?
I
Yeah.
thought it was really funny how the character's name is Charlemagne, and he has a full beard. Mycroft's grandma,
Grandma.
seemingly only because Charlemagne took a secondary role supporting the president of the Senate.
It's the nurturing side coming out. It's the come on,
As we
kids,
all know,
play together.
wanting for there to be any semblance of order in a Senate is maternal,
Of course,
extremely feminine.
It's the most important position in the entire Senate.
Yeah,
I did like how many times they had to say member speaker, though.
member speaker. I liked how they ended up passing the law to outlaw sniper. I didn't like how it immediately got tied up in legal courts.
And Mitsubishi voted for it. Look, yeah, that was a nice little maneuver on Dominic's part for sure.
Yeah. I mean, what do we think about all these motions that were passed? Like we've seen an actual resurrection happen. We need to be able to talk about this. It's insane that you're not letting us talk about this. Please let us talk about this. That was a good motion to pass.
Yeah.
How about the emergency confirmation of the acting censor as censor?
Also
that was
fair.
over in like a shake of a lamb's tail.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
In a time of crisis, right? I think looking at this through the time of crisis, the black law, nope, don't introduce a new black law this time. We don't want more instability. It's a terrible idea.
It's probably why Cookie did it because
Couldn't they pick somebody better to be the censor though?
Could they? I don't know.
Like somebody that doesn't just reek of nepotism.
Well, you got Mycroft and Toshi as the only other two alternatives at the moment, right?
Toshi.
The only ones who have been training with Vivian Ancelet.
Wouldn't Toshi also be a nepotism hire?
Mycroft then.
No, because Toshi does the math faster than anybody else.
Mycroft is a perfect choice then.
And we all know that quickness of math is the primary reason for choosing a supreme executive.
Yeah.
I still think that there should have been a little bit more discussion about something like that.
I agree.
I think it's like you have bigger problems. You gotta solve problems like with band-aid solutions now, and then you gotta go back and fix them later.
I don't know if you can do that when you appoint the person who has the dictatorial emergency powers.
The one who can literally freeze the global economy.
And the Senate apportionment.
That's fair enough, I guess. I actually, you know what? I don't understand why the economy is a big deal here. I don't understand why the economy is a big deal here, because what's
Mitsubishi's on
even
strike.
yeah, what does that even mean? What jobs are they doing?
Most of them. Seems like Mitsubishi runs the stock markets. It seems like they run manufacturing, and it also seems like they run very large portion of the world's population and all tenancy.
I've worked in a Japanese company. It's mostly people just staring at computers pretending to look busy.
Yeah.
Just to Ash's other point about not seeing like what the average person's life is like, how that would be impacted by the Mitsubishi not working or doing anything.
Because they have robots doing most of the actual work, right?
Most of the manufacturing, yes.
And presumably like food growing and stuff like that.
Well, I think most food in this world is manufactured.
I don't know. I don't see why a strike would have a lot of impact in this world. Yeah, like because people aren't going to starve, right? They're not going to lose access to their water. I imagine most manual labor is automated. I don't know. I don't see why this strike would be a big deal.
Much of it, but not breaks in sewer mains.
Sewer mains, yeah, maybe you need a Mitsubishi going into this. Like maybe there aren't plumbers aside from Mitsubishi. I don't know.
Look, machinery always takes upkeep and maintenance. And sure, maybe it takes fewer people to maintain machinery that does the work of many thousands of people, but still needed.
I would find this easier to swallow if we were given any idea of what tangible effects this strike is having, right? Like, is garbage going uncollected, right? Like, or is a skyscraper falling down because someone didn't do the review in time, or whatever it happens to be. But we don't see it. We just hear that, oh, Mitsubishi's on strike, and this is a big deal because we're told it's not a big deal, you know?
Our ship's not being captained.
Is that...
I would assume there's still a lot of automated barges, but
I was yeah, a lot of that's probably automated is what I was thinking.
But, like, the Masons are almost a majority of the population, right? They're still working. And Mitsubishi's like 10%?
they're not a majority of the population, no.
They're
Because
poor
they,
out there.
because they
They're
have like
almost a third, right?
61 out of 200 something senators.
Isn't that partially because they've refused to reallocate senators?
No. I mean, yes, partially, but it would probably only add a couple senators because the only changes in reallocation that have been frozen are ones from the starts of these novels.
It's not just based on population, though. It's also based on, like, a nebulous concept of influence, right?
I think so. But
Like, what are the numbers we were given? The Marty numbers?
God, what are the
Because that gives us
numbers?
the percentage of the population that the Masons are. I thought the conceit behind it was the Masons get overwhelming stake in population, the Mitsubishi get an overwhelming stake in land, and the Utopians get an overwhelming stake in money.
Yeah, no, that sounds correct.
33% Masons.
Okay,
33-67.
gotcha.
I said earlier.
And the land holdings is 67 Mitsubishi, 33% other hives. Income, 29% Utopians, 71% other hives.
Gotcha. But, like, most of the world's population is still working at this time. They're only
Yes.
working 20 hours a week. They can work more, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe this is an intolerable offense.
But hey, that's an intolerable crime.
I agree.
Yeah, the world is literally falling apart. I will not work 1 hour of overtime. Are you insane?
Leave it to the Vokers. They can take up the slack. Their job. They always do, right?
It seems like the imperial government for the Masons are all Vokers. That's the impression I get. It seems like, I don't know, it seems like Martin Guildbreaker is working like 100% of the time.
You mean all of the major cosplayers are committed cosplayers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mycroft also seems to be
Mycroft is working 100% of the time.
yeah.
Because he
like
doesn't need to sleep because he takes meds.
Look, Martin's working so much we never see the rest of his bash.
I don't understand the cosplayer thing.
Well, cosplayers are people who dress up and act as if they are a thing that they are not. And I think that the majority of this world works that way.
I think the majority of our current world works that way.
I mean, Shakespeare, where all the world's a stage, we're always an act. We got personas.
I think a lot of our world works that way, and we're going in that direction. And Terra Ignota is one of the endpoints of that possible direction.
I think it's a midpoint.
So what's the end point?
Nuclear war.
Yeah, it's just like a heap of smoldering ashes.
The whole I don't know what weapons World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be sticks and stones.
Yeah.
It'll be
Yep.
gender that'll be fought with.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that Oryx and Crake?
The book's so messed up.
I think what's the book?
Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood.
Oh, I didn't
It's
realize
definitely
that
not
she
science
had.
fiction.
Definitely. Margaret Atwood also doesn't write science fiction. Come on.
No, she writes speculative fiction only.
Oh, is this a Terry Goodkind thing?
It's a Terry Goodkind thing.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Literary pretentiousness,
Uh,
for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
I didn't know this.
If we're talking
Okay.
about her Orcs and Crake, there's absolutely no reason for it. But her other big one, the one Handmaid's Tale, it's not science fiction though.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
But Origin
okay.
Break is like full-on science fiction. It's
Absolutely.
like all about genetic engineering.
I simply write stories about humans and human stories. Big themes.
No. It's about genetic engineering. It's about a genetic engineering company and conglomerates thereof. It's all about it.
I'm wondering, is Mycroft ever going to write an article as the Anonymous? So far, he hasn't, and that seems kind of irresponsible to me.
We haven't heard about it yet, at least.
I don't know that he hasn't. Like, presumably the Anonymous is still writing during this time, right?
It hasn't been mentioned in the story.
It has not been mentioned. It's very true.
It needs to be mentioned. I agree.
9A is the next anonymous tweet. Is that right?
You think so?
Or-
Hmm.
We know that Vivian is the 7th Anonymous.
yeah. So
Mycroft is the 8th.
yeah, Marcos the 8th. So wouldn't 9A be? Unless
Maybe it's Jed Mason.
Maybe 9A doesn't stand for Ninth Anonymous. Maybe it stands for 9 apprentices. And
Maybe it's the 9th Achilles.
Ninth Ancelet.
We get the rest of the Ansele Kosalabash. And they just pass deputy censor back and forth between them.
I vote to immediately approve that system.
Okay, anybody have any last thoughts other than who is most at fault for giving power to Jed Mason and making them a hive-eating monster, according to Sniper?
A hive-eating monster.
I think that's what the story's about. But
Enlightenment philosophers were all about benevolent dictators. Jed Mason, clearly a benevolent dictator. What's the problem?
who describes himself as omnibenevolent.
Yeah,
He does.
Thus far, he's
Yeah.
been omnibenevolent.
Has he done much of any dictating?
No.
No.
He has simply told everyone how to run their governments better.
He said, "Don't lay a hand on my attacker."
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty
He's
true.
Jesus-like in that way.
That's a Jesus thing for sure.
I turn the other cheek.
Famously political Jesus.
And he was dictating terms of an agreement for the release of Mycroft Canner, except actually he was just dictating the terms of things he was going to give Sniper.
Yeah. That was funny. That was actually, you know what? I will give Sniper 1 point for acknowledging that Jed had a good point about being called Jehovah.
Empty names are safer.
Did we hit up on who we think Achilles will support?
I don't think any of you gave firm answers, even though
Yeah, I know we talked about it. But
I'm not going to give an answer.
I don't know. Achilles will make a decision that upsets me. That's the thing I'm pretty confident about.
And we have one side of the conflict. We have the bullseye
OOS.
symbol designating one side, but what is the other side?
I think there's going to be more than one other side. Because clearly, Spain and Mason seem to have a pretty irreconcilable difference between them that, I don't know, maybe can be only settled by war. It depends on who stole the oath, sorry.
yeah, I think that will probably define one of the sides. Oh, I don't know
He
though,
said
because
that he's declaring war against the whole world.
yeah, because so every time that we have one of these,
And you still defend him.
Absolutely. That's fair. He's been jerked around by everyone at this point.
this is Roman Emperor. Oh, poor Cornell Mason, the victim.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yes. It does seem like all of these, per the chapter, is this the start? All of these possible inciting instances have all felt like they were going to be the thing, and haven't actually ended up being. I guess the closest of that being the Jed assassination, but like none of them have actually started the war yet. But this feels close.
And who saved the world? Tully Marty.
Holy Marty. I think it was very generous of Cornell to give the thieves of the code 3 days to turn themselves in for an execution. As long as they return the oath unread. That was very nice of him. Very magnanimous.
Yeah, an execution by his own hand.
Yeah.
His own unpracticed hand.
I mean, so right now he's wearing an almost all black suit, right? So could he kill someone with like his foot as well? or like bite out their throat.
I mean, yeah. You wouldn't want to be so like Mycroft.
My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hurin, I'm surprised you don't like Cornell Mason more, given that he kicked Saladin in the face. He's the only person who's done that so far.
That was nice. I really like that.
Also funny that Saladin's referred to as her dog in the Dramatis
Ooh.
persona.
I'm still convinced Saladin exists.
And that's fair.
Yeah, Saladin as her dog, Mycroft as the stray, and Dominic as the purebred bloodhound.
Yeah.
We got a lot of dogs in this story.
I don't know if I believe that Dominic is a bloodhound, you know?
Purebred, whatever.
Like a German Shepherd of some kind.
But remember, Dominic investigates by smell.
Dominic is like needlessly aggressive all the time.
Like a little chihuahua.
Needlessly aggressive and needlessly sexual.
Yeah, the sex, like everything, like it's like I'm watching the movie Challengers whenever he's on screen. I don't mean that as a bad thing. It just is a thing. Like,
Yeah, so more like a horny chihuahua that humps everything.
like
Chihuahua.
You know, actually, that makes sense because Dominic has not been effective in hand-to-hand combat so far.
Well, like, because he just seduces everybody.
Dominic got beaten by a living doll. That's pretty embarrassing.
Dominic killed
True.
that living doll.
True.
I guess.
Yeah, Dominic did eventually catch and kill that doll.
At like almost the cost of his own life.
Almost. And now we have this horrifying membrane-covered, disfigured body, which is walking around threatening Mycroft.
I mean, frankly, it seems like it's just authorial fiat that has Dominic still alive at this point. Like Ada Palmer likes Dominic, so Dominic is still alive.
Zealot barbarians don't die when reduced to 0 hit points.
Yeah. It's
Barbarian interest. Okay, that's interesting, but
the cars.
Dominic gets stupider the angrier Dominic gets, and that is a weakness.
but like barbarians are good at fighting.
I don't think Dominic starts out very smart.
I don't know. I think he is. I think he is pretty smart, though.
I think Dominic's pretty smart.
Yeah, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yep, and meticulous.
we know he's politically savvy enough to like get political concessions from other hive leaders,
And to spar with Julia.
Yeah, he's manipulative.
I don't have a high opinion of Julia either.
You don't like the Colonnas?
I find Julia less obnoxious than I find other characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
I despise Julia, for the record.
She's terrible.
She's also, not good. Oh, they're like random comment. Heloise is a nun?
Yeah.
Is that
Jasmine
like,
since her
That's a
introduction.
really important part.
so like, is that like allowed? Like this her to publicly?
Well, in public, she's wearing something over her habit.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
That was funny.
Actually, I like her description is so sexy because he's imagining her habit underneath her cloth.
The shapeless folds of her sack reveal the even more shapeless folds underneath.
That was really good.
Yep. Mycroft is horny for a nun in a sack.
I'm surprised that Julia hasn't introduced him Mycroft yet. Then
Is Mycroft bisexual?
Mycroft is Saladin sexual.
Yeah. Well, also Ganymede sexual.
No, that's just Ganymede.
If you're attracted to someone that like I don't know like if you're sexually attracted to someone, then you're sexually attracted to someone. Like I don't know, that affects your sexuality.
What about deny it?
Mycroft is very firm in telling us that the only person that Mycroft has affection for is Saladin.
But then also Ganymede. If like, oh, I'd have sex with Ganymede.
but everyone's attracted to Ganymede. Yeah.
No, his body responded to Ganymede. That doesn't mean that
Body
he's
responded.
attracted to Ganymede.
I see. Yeah. He's in the closet about being attracted to anyone but Saladin.
Yep.
What did Saladin do?
Which
to
is
him,
also
man?
ironic since he spends like a sex scene between Julia and Dominic in a closet. But
I can only
Yeah.
imagine that Saladin was there for him when his family died, and he's got some weird sexual hang-ups there.
I can only assume that he started having sex with Saladin at an extremely young age and didn't develop into the ability to be sexual with anyone else as a result of it.
That makes sense. I think
Yeah, I
Saladin is
can-
absolutely a predator.
Yeah.
Are they
I
the same
wouldn't-
age?
They're the
I
same
think
age.
they're
pretty much.
Okay.
They're very
similar,
close in
yeah.
age. Yeah. And they grew up together in Nabash.
Mhm.
Which isn't weird at all.
Definitely not weird at all. And it's definitely not weird at all that this world uses Bapa as the gender neutral term for a
Yeah.
Bosch parent.
I mean, it's yeah.
Why is that not weird?
Because it has no relation whatsoever, of course, to the English word papa.
Or Potter.
Oh.
Or Patriarch.
Yep.
Is parent related to the word Potter?
I have no idea.
Pot-
You can look it up if you want.
Yeah, because
Potter,
Papa is just
like
Bosch parent, right? It's gender neutral.
It is gender neutral, supposedly, in this world.
Supposedly, but I don't think you can deny that people call their dads sometimes Pa, right? That's a
Yep.
thing that happens.
and would Potter be related to paternal?
Yes.
I don't know. But, okay.
Yep.
I think it's
I don't
just
know.
all
I
stemming
know what
from
you're
Latin.
saying. I just think there are a lot better examples, and I think this one actually is pretty gender neutral because it's from parent.
It's from parent. It just so happens to have this other association.
Yep. It's just an example of the ways that you can't strip all connotations from words, and especially short ones.
Yeah.
Sensei.
Okay. Well, this has been the Green Team of the Legendarium talking about the Will to Battle, first half. Join us next time.
We didn't have more questions.
We covered all of the questions that we got. I didn't always
Okay.
attribute them, but thank you, Sun Gamer, Wombat, and Chesky. And thank you, Horizon Brave, for getting us all started, and Craig for loaning us this corner of his media empire. Thank you to the Jingle Punks for giving us their galactic damages. This has been Green Team. Bye.
Bye.
Right.
I just want to say thank you